Hello everyone, welcome to Keen here. Now I've managed to locate a window of time to put together this collection update video. I've been chronically busy of late, and on top of that I managed to contract for the second time the dreaded coronavirus. So that set me back a bit of time, it's a couple of weeks in bed, ill. So yeah, it's good to be back, and this is going to be a CD heavy collection update video. A little bit of vinyl to show as well, and a cassette tape, but it's also going to be a very Prince heavy video. So if you're into Prince, this is probably a video you want to maybe stick around for, at least early on, because I'm going to be going through quite a lot of Prince material, and I've had a bit of a Prince fixation of late, and I hope to one day soon obtain at least almost all of the Prince's back catalogue. Really, that's one of my goals I've set. And what I hope to do with that is put together a Prince ranking video. I've got like 3 ranking videos in production, that I'm hoping to make sometime in the future. And yet that's the latest one of Prince. Well, the only real bump in the road that I might have with Prince is that certain albums he's got out are particularly difficult to get hold of, even on CD. But then again, I think at this point in time I have more Prince albums than I don't have. So it kind of balances out, I suppose, in that regard, a more positive angle. But anyway, we're going to start off with a Prince album, which technically isn't a studio album; it's more of a compilation. But I think I might include this anyway in the ranking video. It's called Originals. It came out in 2019, and I believe this is the first Prince album to be officially released after Prince's death. And I picked this up brand new on eBay. I did have my eye on a vinyl version. This was released as a double vinyl version. I think there's a double vinyl version, which also includes a CD version as well, like a super deluxe version. Or it's ridiculously expensive at this point. I think HMV are selling the vinyl version for like $33.99 or somewhere along those lines. Anyway, just like ridiculously expensive. I picked this up for a fraction of that price. And it comes highly recommended, this album. It's really, really good. I really do. I like it that much that I'm half tempted just to include it in the ranking video, even though it's not technically a studio album. It is a compilation. It's mostly songs from the 1980s. It's from like the early 80s to the very early 90s, and it's songs that Prince originally intended for other artists rather than himself. So you got stuff like Manic Monday on here. You've got Nothing Compares to You, which were hits, by you've got the Bangles and Sinead O'Connor. Both had hits with this stuff. Just to name 2, and it's Prince's version, effectively, of these songs. I'd imagine some of these songs have probably been bootlegged a number of times over the years. So the fans of Prince, the bootleggers, the diehard bootleg fans, and the diehard fans of Prince who just want to hear anything, regardless of it being official or unofficial, probably heard this stuff a million times. But if you're anything like me, who just likes, who's not into bootlegs really, and just wants the official stuff by and large anyway, this is a great pickup. It really is. And I really enjoy it. One of the things I really like about this album is the variety. It's got a bit of rock on it. It's got pop, of course. It's got ballads on it. It's quite funky in places. So yeah, this comes highly recommended. I really do like this album quite a bit. And like I said, I like it that much. I probably will include it in that ranking video. Just ignore the fact that it's not really technically a studio album. It's got this really great sort of demo feel, which you tend to get with Prince anyway, but it's kind of ramped up a little bit with that album. But anyway, we'll move on to this. This is a much more recent album in terms of recording anyway. Most of Originals was recorded in the 80s, as I mentioned. This is from 2014, this album, and this is called Artificial Age. I picked this up on eBay secondhand, and it was a couple of pounds, something like that, really cheap. Not too sure if this has a vinyl release, but anyway, got the CD one, and yeah, it's I think with this album, if you haven't heard it, just kind of imagine a kind of typical Prince album. Imagine sort of like a mainstream Prince album from 2014, and I imagine when you listen to this album, it would sound pretty similar to what you'd kind of imagine. There's nothing really that surprising, shall we say, about this album. At least I didn't feel like there was anyway. I need more time with it, but I'm not overly impressed with this album. I think there's some good things about it, but it's not an album which I'm hugely, at this point in time anyway, hugely impressed by. So we'll move on to this album. This came out the same year as the one I've just shown. This is Plectrum Electrum, and this is a collaboration that Prince had with a group called Three Eyed Girl. And this is much more up my street. It's a more rock based, Jimi Hendrix-esque sort of psychedelic late 60s influences to it, by and large anyway, not all the way through. And yeah, there's some good stuff on here. I think it's a pretty interesting album. I think the CD is pretty freaky as well. I'm going to show the CD, which is a bit freaky to say the least. So yeah, a bit more up my street, this one. And yeah, although I haven't said that, I need more time with it, so we'll I'll probably evaluate that over the coming whenever, when I finally do get around to making that ranking video. And again, I picked her up on eBay. It was dead cheap. In fact, I think I picked both of these albums up by the same seller, so I didn't even have to pay separate postage or anything like that. It's literally a couple of pounds. It's a great thing with CDs. They're so cheap. It's like vinyl before. Everyone jumped on board with it and the prices went crazy. You could argue CDs are the new vinyl in many ways. But anyway, before I get too controversial, I'll move on to this album. This is Prince's Dirty Mind from 1980. A bit more of a classic, well-known Prince album. An early release from him, and I remember the first time I listened to this, I listened to it online. I wasn't that impressed by it. I think the main reason for that is because I was just a bit Princed out. I'd listened to so much of his material, and then I put this on, and it was just like I just couldn't process it really. And then I listened to this. I found this at HMV. It's like $6.99 brand new. Not a lot. You get CDs even brand new at HMV pretty cheap now, which is kind of amazing. Really, remember how expensive CDs used to be in HMV. But anyway, I listened to this on CD, and it kind of like made me wonder what the hell I was thinking the first time I listened to it, because I really love this album. Now it's written some really great stuff on it. Really short album. It's about 30 minutes long, but it's got some really great stuff on it. And I'm just really happy with it. So yeah, I'd imagine that's going to be pretty, not to give things away, of course, but I think that's going to be pretty high in the ranking video, when I finally do get round to putting it together. Although I haven't said that's not going to be a huge surprise if that's the case, quite honestly, because it's many of people's more favourite album by Prince. So we'll move on to this. This is Chaos and Disorder from 1996. This is a bit of a contract obligation album from Prince. There, he pour out to kind of just, because he wanted to leave Warner Brothers. It's that kind of era for Prince. Picked this up on eBay. It was a couple of pounds, something like that. Really cheap again, and it's got a really, really awful cover. It really is a terrible album. I think that's partly intentional, of course. And I've just sort of realised it's a vinyl record that's been smashed. I think it's definitely I don't know the ins and outs of this album, but I imagine it's Prince kind of being pretty angry with the record label. It's got like a boot crushing a vinyl record with Prince's eye, on the label there. So yeah, it's got some good stuff on here. It's actually quite a rocky album. This is almost a 1990s version of this, or this is the 2014 version of this in a way. They're both quite rocky albums to a certain extent. So if you like that more rockier sound of Prince, I think this is one album you might want to check out. And I've noticed as well this has been reissued recently. I've seen copies of this in HMV. So yeah, it's a fairly obtainable album. You get the original early, back in the day, 1996 copies on CD, pretty cheap, and you got modern ones as well. So it's quite an obtainable Prince album. This one's the same as well. This is the next one we've shown. This is Rave Unto the Joy Fantastic. Bit of a mouthful. And it's this album came out 1999, so it's a 1999 Prince album. And yeah, it's got this really unusual cover. I've never seen an album by any artist really to have this sort of CD case, this weird plastic CD case with card, and it's shiny and stuff. It's an unusual release. I think it's an American release, made in America. But anyway, it comes with I want to show this. It comes with a poster. You seldom get a poster with a CD, and when I heard that this one has it, I made sure that I got one. It's not a big one, but you know, it is what it is. It's got the lyrics on the back, and I do love, as I've mentioned before, I do love my CD, my posters. So yeah, got hold of this, and this is a pretty good album. There's some good stuff on here. I think this is Prince trying to do a more commercial release, you know, for the new millennium, I guess, as it was coming at the time. And yeah, there's some really good stuff on here. And this is you know, something you can pick up for pennies, literally on eBay. Or you can pick up a new pressing as well. There's extended versions and that kind of thing. It is an album that's been reissued and given the modern day reissue treatment and that kind of thing. So yeah, there's some options with this, and there's some really good stuff on it. I think as an album though, it's not great, but there's some great stuff on it. So we'll move on to this. This is Love Sexy, 1988. A classic, and a bit more of a classic Prince album. And I think this was the final Prince album that I kind of needed to complete my 80s collection, and I picked this up again on eBay. It was literally a couple of pounds, and it's a good Prince album. Some really good stuff on here, particularly later on. And you know, I think it's not one of Prince's stronger 80s albums for me personally, without giving too much away, of course. But there's some really good stuff on here you can't deny. So that's it for Prince. No more Prince to be shown in this video, which might be a good thing or a bad thing depending on what you think of Prince. You gotta love Prince, so he really was you know, I consider him the best American pop star of all time, you know, even higher than Michael Jackson or anyone really. I think he was, you know, he was the main guy. You know, it's just incredible. I've been watching a bit of James Brown. You know, there's James Brown documentaries, and you kind of see how much Prince was inspired by James Brown. You know, particularly with his dance moves and everything. You know, his stage shows and everything. So, anyway, we'll move on from Prince to the Red Hot Chili Peppers. You know, a group that a lot of people hate, I know, but I like them, so I don't care. And this is the latest album. I picked this up online. It was actually something I picked up. I've actually got tickets to see them in Manchester, and they had this offer where if you buy their album, you get access to a pre-sale to get some tickets. And I ordered this, and you know, got access to the pre-sale, and I dithered a bit, you know, in the pre-sale, and all the tickets I was interested in went, and I screwed her up effectively. And then I kind of forgot that I ordered this, and it just arrived on the release day. So yeah, I did manage to get tickets in the general sale. I just missed out on the pre-sale. So anyway, yeah, latest latest Red Hot Chili Peppers album, released, you know, brand new, only been out for a few weeks now, and it's called Unlimited Love. I've only listened to it about 3 times, but I think it's pretty good. I think there's some good stuff on it. It's quite a long album. It's like 17 songs on here. It's like 75 minutes. Quite a long album. I think it was a double on vinyl. And yeah, I need more time with it, but I did actually make a Red Hot Chili Peppers ranking video, so it's kind of out of date now with this release. But anyway, I need more time with it, but it's got some good stuff on it. I don't think it's one of their best. I don't think it's beat Stadium Arcadium or anything like that. You know, the best of the best. But I think it's pretty good. I'm happy with it anyway. So move on to, you know, going on and on about ranking videos. There's another one, you know, the solo Beatles ranking video that I'm hoping to make, and I've got a few albums here by Paul McCartney that I wanted to include in that video. So, you know, into my collection as well. And this is Off the Ground from 1993, and yeah, I picked this up again, pennies on eBay. And it's not an album I had a lot of hope would be, you know, all that great, but I think it's better than I anticipated. Some good stuff on here. I think with stuff like this by Paul McCartney, it's similar to, you know, it's similar very much to this kind of thing by Prince. You know, the albums aren't great, where if you sieve through them, you'll find really good stuff. You know, and I think you know, these albums are very similar to one another in many ways. You know, it's like there's gems on these albums, even though they're not great. And I think this got some good stuff on it, to say the least. And I think overall it's a pretty good album, but it's a handful of tracks on this that are, if you was to call great, would be great. And yeah, Off the Ground, I'll be added to the ranking video when I finally get around to making it. Along with this is called. This is the I nearly said Heavy Rain. This is Driving Rain. This is from, was it 2001? This album, and I believe it is 2001, because then this came out at the time of the Twin Towers attack, and there's actually a song on here, Freedom, which was added last minute to the album. And one of the things that I heard about this album before listening to it was Me, Mr. Mayo. He said in one of his videos, I believe, or a few of his videos, that he hates his album. He really dislikes it. He actually classes it as one of the worst, if not the worst, like solo, not just Paul McCartney, but just generally the worst album that a solo Beatle would ever put out. So I had low expectations for this. I found her on eBay for, again, a couple of pounds. I thought, what the hell, I'll just check her out just to see if it really is as bad as he made out. I actually really enjoyed it. I think this is a pretty damn good album. Actually, this, again, like I was saying, it's not a great album, but there's some really good stuff on here, and I don't think this is a bad album at all, really. So I'd like to thank Me, Mr. Mayo, for giving me such low expectations, and then, giving this a listen to and being really pleasantly surprised. It really wasn't a pleasant surprise. Some really good stuff on here. I think some very strong stuff. Now, to make it an all-time greatest Paul McCartney, greatest hits, personal favourite hits, I definitely wouldn't ignore this album. I think there's definitely at least a couple of tracks on here that I would put on it. So yeah, very very nicely surprised. So this is the final Paul McCartney one I'm going to be showing, and again I picked this up on eBay, a couple of pounds. It's 1989's Flowers in the Dirt, and again I had low expectations for this. I was assumed that 80s Paul McCartney is just generally not very good. I won't say crap or anything like that, just not very, very bit uninspired and that kind of thing. But no, I actually really enjoyed this album as well. Very pleasantly surprised. There's some really good stuff on here again. All these Paul McCartney's albums I'm showing, they're kind of all the same thing, in the sense that they're not great albums, but there's some really, really good stuff on them. You just be listening to it and you get a fairly average track, another average track, and then it'd hit you a really, really good track. I think, wow, this is great, and I think if you was to buy this album at full price back in the day with high expectations, maybe it's a bit disappointing, but picking this album up years later after it's been released for pennies on eBay with low expectations, I think is fantastic. So it's a different way of looking at it, really. So yeah, Flowers in the Dirt, I kind of like it, to say the least. And there's Elvis Costello, worked on the album as well, and there's some good quality, definite, undoubtable quality on that. So we'll move on. I think the best song on here is actually an Elvis Costello, Paul McCartney track. But anyway, we'll leave that for another time to go more in depth. That's it for Paul McCartney. We'll move on to Roxy Music, and this is the final album I needed to complete my Roxy Music collection. It's Flesh and Blood. It's from 1980. And I did manage to secure Roxy Music tickets. I couldn't believe it. As soon as it announced, pretty much that Roxy Music were doing a tour, I believe it's the 50th anniversary of the first album, the start, really, 1972, the birth of Roxy Music. They're doing a 50th anniversary tour. I'm going to see them in Manchester, and I really can't, October, I believe, can't wait for that. Or I got tickets as soon as I could. As soon as they went on sale, I couldn't resist. I've never seen Roxy Music. I've never seen Bryan Ferry or anything like that. So yeah, couldn't resist getting hold of tickets. But anyway, this is the final Roxy Music album I needed to complete my collection. I picked her up on CD on the end because I was kind of curious, quite honestly, to hear this, because as you can see, this is a remastered edition. This came out in 1999. This CD edition, and it says on the back there it's a HD CD. If you can see that, you probably can't, but what this is effectively a special type of CD which if you got a special CD player with an encoder in it, it's supposed to give you more dynamic range. It's supposed to sound effectively a bit better than a standard CD. But apparently, even on a standard CD player, which I don't have, a HD enabled, CD player, it's supposed to sound better regardless. A little bit better anyway. And I'm not too sure if it does, quite honestly. I'm not sure if it's just a gimmick or whatever. I'm always a bit cynical about these so-called CDs that sound a little bit better than a standard CD. I think a lot of it's kind of just a little bit of, I think that it's maybe such a small amount of improvements that it's barely noticeable to the human ear. So it's kind of a bit, pointless, really. But this sounds very good. I'm not too sure if it's the fact that it's a very well recorded album. I believe this was produced by Ludwig. It's a Ludwig production, and I believe he's remastered it as well. So it's a double Ludwig, remaster sort of thing. You can't really. I'm not sure. So effectively, I'm not too sure if it's just good recording, good mastering, or it's the CD helping out. Maybe it's just the mastering. I'm not too sure. But anyway, that's one of the reasons why I picked it up on CD. I was just curious, and it was a couple of pounds on eBay, and it completes my Roxy Music back catalogue. A few things to show now, as I've reaching over the 20-minute mark. So I'll kind of speed things up a bit, I suppose. Another solo Beatles album. This is George Harrison, self-titled album, 1979. And I'm not too sure why I picked this up on cassette, quite honestly. It was on eBay, it was fairly cheap. It sounds actually pretty good. It sounds perfectly fine. It's a good George Harrison album. I had quite high expectations of this, had a lot of good things about it. I think it is a good George Harrison album. So anyway, we'll move on. That will, of course, be included in the ranking video when I finally get around to doing it. I've still got quite a long way to go with that, but it will happen this year, regardless of what I manage to get my hands on or not. It will happen. A bit of vinyl to show. Finally, some vinyl to show. Back to Roxy Music, or Roxy Music based, I suppose. This is Bryan Ferry's Don't Stop the Dance. It's a 12-inch. It's a 12-inch 45 from the mid-80s. Bryan Ferry there, and I'm not going to take the vinyl. It's just standard black vinyl, and it's from the album. I'm not sure if it's Boys or Girls or Boys. I can never remember the correct name for their album, but it's a song from that, and it's also got on it. It's also got on it the instrumental version and that kind of thing. So yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. Yeah, mid-80s. Bryan Ferry, very sort of late Roxy Music sounding, I suppose. But yeah, I'm happy with it. Sounds fantastic as well. 12. I'd love a big collection of 12-inch 45 80s records. I've been looking into Prince, early Prince, 12-inch 45s, and some of those, if you've got any, you want to check them out, because some of them are getting incredibly collectible, I've noticed, the earlier ones anyway. Anyway, we'll finish off on a bit of an oddity, I suppose. This is a 10-inch record of Peter Sellers. Yeah, this is not music at all. Shouldn't even be showing this, but I am anyway. And it's the best of Peter Sellers, and it's on the gold and black label, early Please Please Me, label. And this is from 1957, I believe, something like that. It's one of the oldest records I've got in my collection, and it's spoken word comedy, and I believe this is an original version of it. It's pretty good. It's a pretty funny album. There's some stuff in it which I wasn't expecting. Quite dark, surprisingly dark in places. But yeah, obviously it's a bit dated and everything like that. From late 50s. But I enjoyed it, and I think it's a bit of a novelty. So yeah, collection update video with no 12-inch studio albums. Just a 12-inch 45 and a 10-inch 33 and a third. But anyway, that'll do for this video. We got there in the end, and if anyone's still watching this, congratulations. I'm going to stop talking now because my voice is dying. So thanks for watching, everyone, I'll probably be making that Roxy music ranking video soon, so yeah, keep your eye out for that. I think that's probably the next one. Spoilers alert, that's probably the next one I'm going to be making. So anyway, goodbye everyone, and I'll see you soon.